Thank you so much for joining us again today. And today we're going to actually have a really nice conversation with one of the global experts of women and what's important to women, but really when it comes to her expertise, she is considered the global expert around violence against women. And she's been doing this work for more than 40 years. Her name is Rita Smith. She was the executive director of the National Center Against Domestic Violence. And I want to thank you for taking the time with us today, Rita. And Allison McCord is with us. She's the chief of staff at eBodyGuard, and I'm the CEO of eBodyGuard. So Rita, I'm going to jump right into our questions that we have for you today. Knowing that you come from just a well-traveled background of talking to so many survivors of violence and their journey through that, what do you feel is important about your work today, in 2022, 2023 now, really, and why have you partnered with eBodyGuard?
Yeah, I partnered with eBodyGuard because the more I learned about the technology, the more I learned about what we were going to be able to provide for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault was, I thought, really game changing. I thought it was going to be a way that we could start to really improve their safety, their chance to be believed and to be validated and confirmed, and to also improve officer safety. So that's really the main reasons why I think I've stayed involved and am really happy about where we are.
Can you go into a little bit more detail about what specifically you think is the game changer when it comes to the technology and maybe some of the processes that are in place, and that you think, maybe talk about a story that would give some relevancy to the discussion?
Sure. So I think about victims and survivors that I've worked with who've told me stories, and they call for help. They get a 911 call through. They're actually able to successfully do that. And then the police show up. Mm-hmm. And what happens at that point is the police start to question everybody in this situation and the environment. And it becomes a process of who do they believe most? Who can get themselves believed best in that situation. And most of the time what happens is a victim who has been terrified, who might have been hurt, who might still be injured, it is not coherent sometimes. It may be hysterical, may be scared, may be actually silent. The perpetrator, on the other hand, is pretty good at presenting themselves as kind of a, yeah, we just got into an argument. I don't know what she's complaining about. You know, she tripped, she fell. And they're like in a position where now they're looking at somebody who's fairly collected, able to get their story across. And she's not able to do that in some fashion. And so it's harder for her to get believed about what actually happened in the previous situation before responders showed up.
So talk me through, what is in the past versus why eBodyGuard you feel will make the difference possibly moving forward, and why that's a life-saving situation.
Yeah, so that was the past. That's and still how it works in the present right at the moment, unless someone downloads this app, unless somebody is able to get this app on their phone, then they can activate the call for help through that system. And now the technology is starting to record what's happening even before first responders show up, even before law enforcement gets on the other side of the door. So what's actually happening is going to be validation when she starts to repeat her story, because now she's got documentation. She's got somebody else in the room, so to speak, who can verify what happened there. And the part of the technology that she's been able to preload in terms of filling out her safety card has actually allowed 911 and law enforcement to get some information about this situation before they ever walk in the door. So that's why I say that I think it actually improves safety for law enforcement as well as safety for victims, because they know what they're facing. They have a lot more information about previous violence that might have occurred, if there's a restraining order effective. And so they can tailor their response to that level of danger from the beginning.
I'm so glad you brought up the safety of the officers, because so often, we're as victim advocates thinking about the victim's rights, the victim's, life. And, so often the officers are walking into scenes that they're not even aware of what's on the other side of the door. And it's crucial information that can be sent right to 911, that the officer now has that information. They can walk in and make much better informed decisions. So thank you for bringing that up. Let's shift to the e-body cam. This has just been introduced to the market. What are your thoughts on what this can help, anyone in this situation? What are your thoughts there on this?
Well, I think the eBody cam adds a whole nother layer of validation and evidence collection, where it's video, audio being recorded, but it's also something that after an assault, someone who may not have been able to activate a call through that system prior to being assaulted, they can now document any evidence of injuries that they might have experienced and be able to have that saved in a secure place where it can be used later for evidence because it meets CJIS compliance. So I think that there's during this situation and then after the situation, there are ways for that eBody cam system to actually help improve outcomes on the other side if charges are filed.
Got it. I feel like I'm hogging all the questions. Allison, what kind of questions do you have for Rita?
So what do you know? Tell us, based on what your understanding is of the community portal portion. So you've talked about the app and what it does, but how do you think the new community portal that was just launched, how does that fit into the equation? How do you think that will change what happens with the way people document their history and their believability and what might happen in the future going forward with their cases?
Well, I think having a place where they can store information that they think is critical for their own personal safety, where it can't be accessed and it can't be destroyed, is really critical. So maybe they've been doing that in a diary, or maybe they've been doing that stored on their phone. But through the community portal with the eBodyGuard system, they actually can put it in a safe cloud system where they can have access to it no matter where they are, from any kind of web connected resource or even a friend's phone or laptop, so that they can actually get information to people they care about or to law enforcement who needs it, and that it's there when they need it. And so they can add information as things go on to make it more and more clear how dangerous things are for them. And then people can respond accordingly because they'll have access to that information in ways that it can't be destroyed because it's not stored in a place that's at risk.
I think that's brilliant. You just thought of a use case I never even thought of. If someone's at risk and they are afraid to download the app, but somebody could download it for them and they could document for them, right? That's brilliant.
And it's a history too. It's not just like one moment in time, because so many of these situations are a single moment in time, and all the judgments and all the evaluation happens on this moment versus like, this is the history. So it allows to gather that history together as well. It
starts to paint a clearer picture for absure is what you're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what do you think as coming from the world of advocates, advocacy for victims and survivors of domestic violence, what would you say to advocates who are in a position to provide guidance, support, help to people in need who have been victimized? What would you say to them specifically?
Well, I think what I would want them to do is to understand that technology can be very, very helpful to us, and does, and how it can be helpful, and what the limitations might be. We can really start to get tools into people's hands that will increase safety and save lives. And it's for those of us who've been doing this work a really long time, we didn't have access to this. So we may be somewhat hesitant to engage with technology because we understand that abusers are particularly skilled at finding loopholes in everything, laws, safety features, through the cyber internet attack kind of things. They learn the things they need to learn to find ways to control their victim. But this is a piece of technology, I think, that as it interfaces with the criminal justice system, allows us to really get information quickly to people who can use it, and then can help reduce future violent attacks. So I would just say advocates, get a little bit of information about this, learn how it can be helpful, and then get it in front of people who can use it, because what we're all looking for is to improve community safety. And the eBodyGuard system is one that will do it.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. I really appreciate all the years that you've been doing this work. It absolutely is the best time to bring this type of technology forward and to be able to share this with the community, especially in this time in this nation. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us that you think is important?
Well, I think that our goal is to make sure that when someone reaches out for help, that they're believed, and that they're supported, and that they're given the resources necessary to find a safe place. And we all need to pull together to make that happen. And I think that this system gives us tools for all of us to work together better, so that everybody's safer in our communities. And that means that we reduce violence dramatically if we do that.
Thank you again for your time, Rita. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your heart.
Thank you.